Hello, it is so lovely to see you again this week. It's been a couple of weeks. We've been going a little crazy, doing a little thing called a book called Women in Technology. So I am so thrilled to have, oddly enough, two of my co-authors here today with me. I've got Angie Chang, VP at Hackbright Academy out of San Francisco, and Kristin Toth Smith, who is the CEO of Code Fellows out of Seattle. We're here today to talk about what code academies and boot camps are like. What's the right one for you? What do you need to know to get into one? How much do they cost? And what are the kind of people that succeed inside a coding boot camp? So I will ask Kristin to give us a start and Angie to finish us off. Tell us about who you are and why you've chosen to be an educator for people in technology.
Thanks, Tara. Thrilling story, actually. So I never thought that I would be an educator. In fact, I had an early conversation or an early experience with being an educator, specifically in music as I was growing up, and I thought, wow, teaching is not for me. But I think what I learned over the years of my career were two things that led me to this particular opportunity. The first one is there's not enough software developers in the world to be able to create all the value that we want to for companies and nonprofits and all of the different things that are enabled by technology. And the second thing is that I really enjoy being a part of somebody's growth and development. So these two things sort of coalesced, and when I was presented with the opportunity to join Code Fellows, it was just sort of this perfect marriage of things. And while I didn't sort of seek out being an educator at all, I absolutely adore what I'm doing, and it does feel very right.
And then Angie?
So what was the prompt again?
What is it that led you to become an educator? Tell us more about who you are and more about what it's like to educate people in technology.
Yeah, so my background is when I was the only female in an engineering team of about a dozen men for a year, and that's my first job out of college. And it was a great job. I really enjoyed my coworkers, my peers, and the work I was doing, but at the same time I was wondering if there's a way to change this ratio in engineering. And at the same time I was also interested in starting a company, and I wanted to meet other women who would be interested in starting companies, so I started Women 2.0, which is a media company supporting women entrepreneurs. And we, 7 years later, started hosting 1,000 women conferences when you realize there's a critical mass of women super interested in starting companies in the startup space. And then I also started Bay Area Girl Geek Dinners, a series of events for women at companies like Salesforce, and next week will be Autodesk. And these are all great networks for women in tech, but at the same time I met the co-founders of Hackbright Academy a few years ago when they started, and I saw there's a huge need that we can directly change the ratio of women in engineering at something called a coding boot camp, and the one that's all women in San Francisco is called Hackbright Academy, and that's where I work today. And we've graduated over 200 women so far in 2 years who are now working at companies throughout the Silicon Valley at places like Pinterest, Facebook, Uber, Eventbrite, SurveyMonkey, New Relic, and we're continuing to see how many more lives we can change.
That is absolutely wonderful. Can you tell us more about what it is like to attend your boot camp?
Yeah, so the boot camp, the coding boot camps have been around for only a few years now, and they're a direct response to educations. Currently, we have a lot of people graduating from colleges, but it seems like college is not enough. And additionally, people graduate with degrees they feel are not relevant to the career they want to have. So, for example, I have degrees in English and social welfare from Berkeley, but I never worked in English or social welfare. And all my jobs have been in technology, and I have no professional training. And we would like to encourage women to pursue these careers in technology, even though they do not have the BS or BA in these topics. So we are an alternative. I think we are a post-baccalaureate program for women that have previous experience and demonstrated expertise and knowledge in something else. For example, we have women that have PhDs in philosophy and astrophysics, and also we have former lawyers and former high school teachers, math teachers, professors who come to Hackbright and say, I want to be a software engineer, and I can retool myself in 2 to 3 months. A lot of hard work. It is very hard. It is not easy learning a new language ever. Learning a new programming language or 2 or 3 is incredibly difficult, but is entirely doable. Right. And we select for the most ambitious, motivated women, and they form a great cohort of friends, and they succeed together.
Let me ask, what is it like to attend yours? Can you hear me, Kristin?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know there was a bit of feedback. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we're getting some echo. If you're not. So, Kristin, tell us how you attend your boot camp, and then Kristin, you're muted right now. Angie, you're
Okay.
Yeah, so Coachella is similar. In fact, things very similar to what you described. We found that not only is there a great need for the type of talent that comes out of colleges and other training programs, but there are all these people who are out there who have been working and trying to learn code on their own and who have immense capacity to learn and really well-rounded skills that make them an even larger contribution to tech teams once they have those skills. So similar to what Angie described, we have this intensive training program that is really focused on reverse engineering fantastic software developer, professional grade job ready software developers. And what we do in order to sort of shorten up that time that it takes, instead of a 4-year degree or multiple years of well-rounded studies, we take people who are actually already very well-rounded and who are fantastic and voracious learners, and we teach them the practical skills, how to use those practical skills in industry today, and we train them on 3 different areas of skill sets. So one is the technical tools, how to use them, what they are, what you need to know, what maybe you don't need to know. The other one is sort of just how to manage a career in technology, so those skills for getting a job and managing your career. And then the third part is all of the processes and sort of semi-technical skills that go along with being a great software developer, like how you work in an agile environment and time management and project management, communication, collaboration with cross-functional teams, how you think about products to make great products. Things like TDD and BDD and agile software development and version control and security and all these other things that kind of sort of feather into that. But the goal is to make this well-rounded, practical, job-ready software development candidate, and it sort of starts with the reverse engineering and goes back through that process of not only the time that we have with you, but whom those candidates are and what they need to get up to that point where they're going to be ready for that last 8 weeks of their development. And what it's like is very intense, actually. We put you through a lot of challenges. We create a lot of ambiguity so that you get to, I think some people maybe think that you have to, but you get to go and run up against obstacles and figure out how to get unstuck. You learn very, very rapidly. And we sort of do this very learn new concepts and apply them and practice them, and then learn another set of new concepts and apply them and practice them, and continually level up your code. And so it's a very intense experience. We spend half of the day in the classroom doing interactive lecture in a more structured environment, though it doesn't look like college. And then the other half of the day is spent in lab, working on group projects, working on homework assignments, all with TAs and instructors to support you, but really to apply the knowledge that you've learned. And we have people here when I get in the morning and when I leave at night, even if I've stuck around for nighttime events. So it's a pretty intense program, but students come out the other end just feeling energized and excited about what they've learned and want to take these new skills, these like superpowers as we call them, out into the world to build things and add value to companies of all different kinds.
Wonderful. That is spectacular. And going to something like this tends to be very intensive, and I know that a lot of people are a little nervous about the skill sets that they need, and I would love if you guys could give just a brief answer, maybe a sentence or two, saying at what level of someone's career should they consider joining either Hackbright or Code Fellows?
So for Hackbright, it doesn't really matter what you did before as long as you did something and you demonstrated that you can pick up an expertise, whether it's in electrical engineering, whether it's mechanical engineering, whether it's astrophysics or philosophy, or being a teacher, or being a special ed teacher. As long as you have proven that you can have an expertise in something, you can probably pick up an expertise in something else as long as you're interested in it. So we find that a lot of our people applying to Hackbright have taken a class on Codecademy or two. They've taken a free course on Coursera. They have gone through maybe a community college class. There's so many women tech groups such as Girl Develop It and Women Who Code where you can easily go to meetups and start learning things. And once you've proven that you understand what coding is and you're super interested and this is what you want to do for the rest, maybe in your next, I'm not going to say rest of your life, but this is what you want to do for your next 5-10 years, then you really make that investment in going to a coding boot camp where you're going to spend the next 10 to 12 weeks intensely focused on changing your career.
Very cool. And then Kristin.
Yeah, so we actually have a curricula that we the 8-week development accelerators are for people that have gotten a little bit further up their learning curve in technology. So they generally have some foundational knowledge of computer science and the structures around data structures and algorithms and what it takes to do web development or mobile development in general. And then they've been playing around and learning the basics, semantics and syntax of the particular technology stack that they want to do. They're not sort of professional grade yet, but they've been spending some time learning some of those things because the 8-week development accelerators go very, very quickly, and it really helps to have that foundation. Because we've learned where we feel very adamant that people need to practice and to have that experience before they go into it, we also have a foundations track, so nighttime classes as well as full-time intensive classes that help you get to that point. So they'll teach you those concepts that you need in the foundations of computer science as well as the foundations of the technology stack that you want, and give you a personalized growth plan that allows you to figure out a way to get from where you are and accomplish your goals. And if your goal is to get into the development accelerator, we'll give you a bunch of assignments and things to work on so that you'll be ready to do so. So we've sort of broken it up into the beginning of your journey and a little bit further on in your journey, and we sort of help people find the right place for them as they're getting started. But we definitely see, like Angie described, people.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah, everybody. Like massive.
Lots of different people.
And it's really.
Let me go ahead and stop you right there. Yeah, we've got places for everybody in all of the boot camps. I know that. And what I want to do now is I want to open it up to the people that want to ask you questions, if I possibly could here. I've already gotten like 6 of them. Remember, folks, as you're watching this, you are welcome to use the Q&A application here in the Hangout, as well as go ahead and tweet directly to me at Tarah, and I will moderate questions as we possibly can here. So ask us anything. As the saying goes, put them in the Q&A and vote up the questions that you want to know more about. And I'm going to get them started, if I could, here with how much can I earn that is different? How much do I earn that is a difference from coming straight out of college as opposed to going into one of your coding boot camps in terms of my pay differential? So if you can give just a brief answer on that, that would be very helpful.
So at Hackbright, I don't know how much people make out of college. I can tell you that Hackbright graduates make on average starting salary of $89,000, and that is what our average is. It goes anywhere from about 70 to 110. I'm not sure what the average graduates are making currently out of the UC Berkeley or Stanford, but that's what we are seeing.
Yeah, I think the computer science graduate average was somewhere between $62,000 and $68,000 a year. We live in Seattle, and so most of our grads are getting jobs up here in Seattle, Portland, Pacific Northwest, though we have people that move everywhere. Our salary range is between $60,000 and $155,000, with our average being $76,000 a year. So.
Extremely helpful. Thank you. Okay, so we've got that, how much you're going to get the differential in terms of the boot camps. I heard Kristin touch on this, and I'm wondering, Angie, as well, the night class options. What options are available for someone who's got a full-time job?
So Hackbright Academy has part-time classes at night, and we have an intro to programming class. We have a front-end development class, a back-end development class. They're all on our website. You can check it out at hackbrightacademy.com.
Yeah, we likewise have the Introduction Foundations to Computer Science and Web Development class, which is sort of the first step for people, and then we have foundational classes at night for Python, iOS, Ruby on Rails, which is actually Ruby, full stack JavaScript, and web UI development, which is largely HTML, CSS, front-end JavaScript, things like that.
Let me build a little bit on Kristin's answer right there and ask you both. Someone would like to know, what are the languages you teach and which ones are the most lucrative?
We teach 5 different technology stacks, and we actually teach the full technology stack, so everything from soup to nuts that you need to develop in that technology. So ours are Ruby on Rails, full stack JavaScript, web UI, HTML, CSS, jQuery, a lot of the front-end frameworks there. Python, and I hope I'm not actually going back, I think iOS is the last one. So we have those 5 technology stacks, and quite frankly, every one of those is born out of that reverse engineering of the talent needed in the market, and we've actually seen every one of those have a very similar pattern to placement and pattern to the salaries that they're making. So they're all pretty lucrative.
So Hackbright is Python. We teach Python full stack. That goes from Learn SQL, SQL Alchemy, Flask, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and that's actually, we find that according to, I mean, there's all these different papers that are always published, but Python developers are high in demand and they do make a lot of money, and so we think we're on the right track with teaching and educating full stack Python developers.
So it sounds like there's great logistical answers here, but I want to delve a little deeper in a question that someone asked me here. What does it take to be successful at one of your boot camps? Is it possible to fail out, basically?
So I can answer that question from Hackbright. We don't fail anybody. We have a 99% chance of graduation, and the only reason people haven't made it to graduation is because they decide maybe a few days into the program that this is not the right career choice for them, and they go back to what they're doing before. So we don't have any tests or failing out of our students, so everyone usually makes it through. And I know that's not the case with other boot camps in the area.
Yeah, we don't have traditional grading, but we do have graduation requirements because of our job offer guarantee. And our graduation rate is 88%. Most of the people who do not make it through actually self-select out for the same reasons that Angie just mentioned. So they decide that this isn't what they wanted, or they have something that happens in their personal lives that takes them away from the intensive program and they're not able to finish. We work with each one of those people to make sure that they still are meeting and reaching their goals. And to answer the question about how to be successful, it really is coming in and having the sort of quest for knowledge and learning, and being ready to go on sort of an emotional journey while you're learning something that's difficult, and you know, taking advantage of all of the resources that are put in front of you. But it's really that sort of work hard, be excited about the ambiguity and the sort of learning process, and that's really what it takes. Work with the people who are working with you.
That is awesome. Let me ask you now both. Here's a really good question, one that's quite to the point. Some of the people that need jobs the most often don't have a lot of money to pay for a boot camp like this one. What are the kinds of options that are available for coding boot camps, which are not usually, they're not accredited schools, they're kind of vocational camps, sort of. So how do people who really need this help pay for it? Find scholarships, grants? What's available out there for each of your programs?
Yeah. So we hope to have some things specific to Code Fellows to announce very shortly. We do work with funding partners, so people that need some help in financing this in the short term with the idea that they'll be able to pay it back. But we also work with the City of Seattle and the State of Washington, and we are a licensed school, so a lot of the career training programs where there are funding dollars for retraining and training people, we actually have we are qualified for that, and we have people who are going through the programs based on that assistance. And we have had people who have gotten scholarships of various kinds in their communities, you know, various different types. So those are a little bit more sporadic and more difficult to sort of point people to, but there are a lot of people out there philanthropically or in community organizations who are helping people get to this particular point in their careers.
I've seen a variety of ways that Hackbright students have fundraised their way to attending Hackbright, from creating a crowdfunding campaign to raising. I think of raising friends and family. I think of our students as mini entrepreneurs because it takes a lot of grit, and I think there's a lot of narrative that can be had around the trough of sorrow when you're looking for a job. For those like few weeks or months where you're looking is just miserable, and you're going to have to work through it, and you're going to have grit, and you're going to have a lot of suffering. Because any job search is incredibly difficult and draining and demoralizing, and it's especially so in a new industry where you feel like an imposter. That being said, we have seen people find creative ways to finance if they don't have $15,000 for tuition in their bank. We have scholarships from Facebook and Intuit and other companies that are invested in diversifying their, helping us diversify our classes. And I keep hearing of individuals and groups that have scholarship options that they're asking for people to apply for these scholarships. So there's definitely ways to attend. I would not let cost stop anyone from applying to Hackbright. It's completely free to apply. You can go through 2 interviews, and when you're accepted into the program, then you would really talk to the admissions people and talk to your friends, talk to your network. Make it really heard, because I think people want to help you get through a program like Hackbright if you got in, and you just need that little bit of help getting through the rest of the program. So I would not encourage. I would say until you had the opportunity, don't stop yourself.
Don't give up. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. All right, we've got a question here from Kojo Adrisa. What advice would you offer new aspiring programmers wondering where do I start if I'm learning to program? And what advice do you offer for that?
Most of the Hackbright students start at codeacademy.com, and most of them do also take maybe an algorithms class on Coursera. They look at Khan Academy, YouTube for just videos on intro to programming, and they start there.
Yeah, very similar for Code Fellows. I think the advice I would say is just do it. Start somewhere. Start learning some skills that you can start experimenting with. The best way to learn how to code is to sort of intersperse learning new concepts and applying them. So if there's something that's driving you to want to learn how to code, start figuring out how to do it and try to take steps toward that and sort of supplement. You'll know much better the things that you need to know and the questions that you need to ask once you have a sort of real project that's underway too.
Wonderful. Okay, I've got what I'm going to call is going to be our last question. It's an important one, and it's a challenging one to both of you to talk about. It's a question that was very direct about graduation statistics and who you accept. And the question is about this: do you feel like your admissions program offers opportunities for people who maybe statistically wouldn't see as much success to take part in that educational environment? When they may not have as much luck in the job market. I've seen some questions being asked about why very few women often are in code academies, and the question was asked of me then, is it because it's harder to find jobs for women after they get out and could hurt graduation statistics? So how have you dealt with this question of making sure people have access to your academies?
Well, we are all women, so we don't have the why are women. I do believe being a woman gives you as good a chance as anyone else to get a job. There are other things about women that may make it a little harder, such as the feelings of imposter syndrome, going into a startup feeling like you're the only one that looks a certain way and everyone else is another. But the application process is daunting. I mean, even in studies, women have to be asked to get promoted, whereas men will often raise their hand and ask for years in advance. So aside from personally asking a lot of underrepresented minorities and groups to apply, we try to be as inclusive as we can in our language by showing that we have all these scholarship options available, that if you apply, you will have the chance to be selected and invited, basically, to attend Hackbright for free. However,
yeah. And then
I do think we're doing all that we can. Let us know if there's anything we can do.
Let me push to Kristin because I just had a question from my high school here that I absolutely want to see happen. So Kristin, if you can give us a quick answer, I'm going to go back on my word and ask one final question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's not a short answer, and we definitely are looking to be inclusive and create more opportunities for people who don't sort of fit the, quote, normal tech scene today, and so, you know, we're actually seeking those folks out, and because we feel like we can be a big enabler to getting them into the tech community, and that we have an opportunity to change the demographics. The one thing, you know, so we're rooting for you. We're rooting for everybody. We seek also to be very inclusive and work with all of our students to make sure that if they are ready to go, that we figure out a way to make them successful. Wonderful. And so, you know, I think there are a lot of things that go into that. And we're constantly trying to get better at it. I would say that probably the toughest thing actually is less about gender or ethnicity, but actually age is an interesting one. And I could open up a whole can of worms, but that is definitely one that we're trying to actually have downstream impact on hiring partners so that we can make more opportunities for people who are a little bit later in life and making a change.
Well, let me play off that question of age right now, because the last question, the last question is going to be from Ellie Fitzpatrick. She's a high school girl. She wants to know, she's a high schooler at an all-girls school, and she wants to know, how do you encourage girls to come into your boot camps when they think coding's not for them because they're girls?
Yeah, we actually have run women's only programs, full classes of women only, and not necessarily because women have to feel like they are going to be in a class of all of them, but just only women, but because it helps us attract the right people and have a message. We also did an hour of code with a girls' middle school so that we could actually start impacting girls who are a little bit earlier on and letting them know as they're in that formative years that, hey, actually, there is a reality that is much more exciting to coding than what you probably have as a stereotype in your head, and to keep that door, that possibility open for them at an early age. And we look for those opportunities to go and reach out. We did actually even younger kids this year for Hour of Code, and we're just trying to reach everybody to the extent that we can throughout their development to let them know, like, coding is really great. It's building stuff. It's creating stuff. It's much more exciting than whatever sort of dark and dreary and male-oriented only profession that you have in your mind.
All right, Angie.
So all of the Hackbright graduates and alumni are basically role models. They go out into the field. They go speak at high schools to other girls. And we encourage mentorship here at Hackbright. We have a mentorship program for the engineering fellows. We also encourage our students to go out and mentor and be visible and go speak and give back as much as they can. And I think the bigger problem is outside of the coding boot camps. It's in the media and in the parents, and that stuff is really, really hard to get to.
Well, let me ask you, if you can give me just one last single thought for the people that are watching this broadcast. What do you want to leave them with?
There is a myriad of ways to become a programmer. You don't have to go into Hackbright. You don't have to go to a coding boot camp. You can do there's many ways to get to a programmer. There's many ways to be a programmer and program and do cool things without having that job title. And don't let anything stop you, and find your people and continue. Just tweet at us, talk to us, meet us at meetups, hang out. It's all good.
So with you, Angie, I would just say coding is a superpower. It allows you to create things that weren't there before. There are so many different ways to learn it. Don't let anything stop you. You know, we're here to be sort of a drop in the ocean and to encourage a few people and have a little bit of an impact on a really, really big opportunity for you. So don't let it stop you. Get started, and it's never too late.
Thank you so very much, Angie Chang, VP at Hackbright Academy in San Francisco, and Kristin Toth Smith, CEO of Code Fellows here in Seattle. It's a total pleasure to have you here with us today, and for those of you watching right now, you can feel free to see them both again next week at the exact same time. We're going to be closing out the Women in Tech book Kickstarter with a last broadcast, and you'll get a chance to ask all of us questions and throw your thoughts around. It's just an amazing, amazing experience that's encouraging and positive for girls and women in technology. Thank you all so very much. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks, bunches.